Okay, good evening, everyone. It's time to call this regular meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio Board of Trustees, today being Monday, August 21st, 2023. Madam Secretary, would you call roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Chavez? Here. Mr. Overfelt?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez? Here. Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Galindo? Ms. Haynes? Here. And myself. Sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members, and that this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First item we have under our agenda is item 4, recognition. We have Mia Galindo, Outstanding Performer Award, Ricardo Rios.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, as part of our fine arts feature, we want to be presenting Ms. Mia Galindo, and after her performance, I will be reading a letter from the UIL State Office as to the great accomplishment that she had. But first, we're gonna be delighted by getting an opportunity to hear Ms. Galindo sing. This is the song that she actually sang at the Texas State Solo and Ensemble competition. So, Mia Galindo.
Thank you.
Sure, on this shining night of stormy shadows around, kindness must watch for me beside the ground.
And let me read the letter that was sent from the UIL State Office, addressed Mia Galindo. On behalf of the University Interscholastic League, please allow me to congratulate you for being selected as an outstanding performer at the 2023 Texas State Solo Ensemble Contest. Of the approximately 100,000 students participating in the regional UIL music contest and the thousands of musicians who performed at TSSEC, only 2 to 3% of these solo performances earned the distinguished honor of being recognized as an outstanding performer. This achievement is truly a mark of musical excellence. In recognition of this honor, please accept the enclosed striped gold medal, which I have over here. It's beautiful, big old UIL. The medallion is identical to those awarded to state champions in all UIL events. Wear it with pride. Awards of this nature do not come easily and reflect the efforts of many individuals. Your parents, school, and teachers are to be commended for their contribution to your success. I encourage you to share this honor with them. At the same time, remember that you alone, through your own talent, dedication, and hard work, made this accomplishment a reality. I extend to you my personal best wishes for continued success as you strive for musical excellence. And sincerely, this is from Dr. Bradley Kent, State Director of Music.
My turn. Congratulations, sir.
That was an awesome performance, and again, thank you for such a great job on UIL activities. Next item we have on our agenda is item 5, citizens to be heard. We have one person that signed up. The topic is tax rate, B. Vallejo. We have a time limit on this. Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Mr. Mesa, and school board members. There are 3 things that the average person focuses their feelings and emotions on. And one is what they have and what they do not have. Number 2 is what they control and what they cannot control. Number 3 is the past, the present, and the future. Interestingly, you all will play a major role in the upcoming emotions and feelings of this community. The land valuation of 30,000 plus forced on us, the appraisal district and the appraisal board of directors consisting of Kerr Wardlaw, Ramiro Guzman, Christopher Kishman, Fred Hernandez, David Torres, George Wardlaw, Steve Webb, Leonel Chavez, Luis Everett, and Eloida Garcia, the ex officio, and the tax rate that you will adopt will impact every household. Their decisions have already upset many people and their lives. Unfortunately, many landowners' cries have been unheeded by the appraisal district and their paid appraisal review board members, Patrick Suberber, Ryan Ricks, Robert Bobby Fernandez, Oscar San Miguel, and Alonso Martinez. Now, taxpayers are thinking about what the future may hold, how much money they will need in order to stay for another year in their home. For others, it may be time to stop paying taxes and or to sell. With the current real estate market trend, who will want to purchase a home in need of major repairs. With hyperinflation setting in, mortgage rates are on the rise from 3% to 7%. The land valuation stands as a testament to an average of 30,000, and because of market values of land and of homes that were sold by less than minus 1% of the population of Valverde County. Without a single percentage point or increase on last year's tax rate, you stand to still make millions and millions in tax revenue because everyone's property appraisals were up at least 100%. I can assert that once tax rates are set, tax statements are mailed and received, not a single person in our community will be happy with you or with them. Instead, their emotions will range from pissed off to ardent anger. And then, when they realize that people like you have taken their control away and they have no power, depression, unhappiness, and more ardent anger will emerge. And what will stop these emotions? Nothing. All will be forced to pay or lose their properties to a taxing entity because of your control and your power. When the minds of those in power are closed, their eyes are set, and their policies are imposed on the human populace, the citizens may begin to identify facts that may lead to fraud, theft, and deceit. These unethical behaviors are not taken lightly. And then the code of conduct will be viewed. Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and behavior, plus political influence and affiliations to see how it all played in. Attempts will be made to identify how those in power arrived at such a conclusion and what gave them control and power over the human populace, their property, and their homes. It will not be a pretty November primary election. You see, if all taxpayers have left to use against those in control holding all the power, it is our vote. Then we will have no other choice but to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item we have on our agenda is item 8, reports. First report, we have facilities and construction update. Mr. Hector Chapa.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Tonight's presentation will include Ceniza Hills Elementary, Cardwell move to North Heights, electric bus status report, as well as North Heights parking lot update. I'm pleased to announce that the Ceniza Hills Elementary campus has been completed.
Sorry, can we check if the mic is on?
As I mentioned, the Ceniza Hills Elementary campus has been completed.
Hector, turn the mic up closer to you. There you go.
Still pending is the park. The following is the projected project schedule. The main field is supposed to be completed the first week in September, by the 8th. The walking trail a week after that. The lighting, which is basically the park lighting, by the end of the month, September. Followed by the landscaping, which is scheduled to be completed by the latter part of October. And the playground equipment is supposed to come in the first week of November. So a week later, it should be completed and be turned over to the campus and students, as well as the community. The electrical bus deployment, this past Friday, the district received funds from EPA. Next board meeting, the administration plans to bring 2 requests for purchase orders for both the labor and materials associated with the infrastructure. And the infrastructure installation is scheduled to be completed by early December, which includes the installation of the charging stations. The Cardwell move to North Heights has been completed. The only item that's pending right now is the enclosed construction, or the enclosure of the hallways, which is a future project. The new staff parking lot has been completed as of early part of August. Any questions?
Any, Dr. Rios, any update on the excess road?
No, Mr. Messer, members of the board, we did compile a memorandum of understanding, and we sent the copy to the property owners with the assurances of what the school, the county, and the city would do, but they have not replied. And this was about 10 days ago that we sent them that MOU.
Was there a study done in regard to the Department of Transportation, either, you know, for traffic lights or anything like that, if it does go through?
No, sir. We did a traffic study with TxDOT for the school itself. Now, because there are 3 separate possibilities, we did indicate in the MOU that the school district would pay for a traffic study to determine which was the best option. So that would happen, but we don't want to incur those expenses until the property owners move forward and agree to the MOU.
And one other question in regard to traffic congestion. My wife and I walk on Nagarita Park, and I see the traffic pretty much, you know, there's no problem. I mean, it's flowing through. I think the stops help quite a bit. Are there any other areas that are congested that you've seen, other streets in the back?
No, sir. As a matter of fact, today I was there approximately at release time, and traffic was flowing pretty well. And within 10 minutes, the traffic had already cleared up on Enchanted and Pitaya Lane.
Good, good. Dr. Rios, I don't know, I haven't been up there in the morning after school opened. I was there before. But are students walking or using their bicycles, neighborhood kids?
I'll ask the principal. I haven't seen any bicycles, but I have seen people walking.
I was impressed because, you know, I was already, you know, figuring there's going to be lots of complaints on residents of that area, but it seems to be flowing pretty good, and I guess there's a lot of transportation, you know, students that are taking the bus.
So there are some kids that, like she said, a handful of kids that walk home, but there are also parents that walk to school to walk their kids home. I think that we even saw a parent riding a scooter or pedaling a scooter to come pick up the students. So it's worked really well, but that road is important for the future because as the population continues to grow to the north, there will be more cars driving in, so we want to be prepared for that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And also, I know the last meeting I brought up the concern with, it hasn't rained in Del Rio for years. But when it does rain, Nagarita, that area, you know, the water's stagnant there for 2 or 3 weeks, and I know that there was some preliminary work done there for the drainage to go through. So is that?
Well, hopefully we'll find out tomorrow.
Oh, we'll find out.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
tomorrow we expect rain, so hopefully we'll see how well it works.
Okay, because that was an area of concern. The water stays there for a couple of weeks, you know, when it does rain. Okay, we can go on to the next.
Okay, moving on to work orders. We'll start with maintenance. 0 to 15 days, they had received 369, and 86% has been completed. 16 to 30 days, 74 were submitted and completed 83.8%. 31 to 60 days, 173. Only 45.7% has been completed. And 61 to 90 days, 185 had been submitted, and 69.7% completed. Technology, 0 to 15 days, 1,871 work orders were submitted, 98% completed. 16 to 30 days, 260, with a completion rate of 78.5. 31 to 60 days, 194, 65.5% complete. And 61 to 90 days, 21 work orders submitted, 33 and a third, 0.3 completed.
Can I ask you a question here? I know I asked Dr. Rios about all the equipment, the cafeteria being connected. We were pending, I think, a certificate of occupancy or something. I don't know if it was a permit, Dr. Rios.
We got the certificate of occupancy. The kitchen, the equipment is, I'm gonna say mostly in place, 95, 96%. But we had to have the equipment in place for them to order the fire suppressant system. And that's all we're waiting for. The scheduled time was for the end of this week, and we're hoping that that occurs. But all the equipment is in place.
Okay. And then another question regarding Ceniza Hills. We also, we get the calls that technology wasn't all functioning. Is that up to par now, everything? I think they meant either, computer access to the boards that we have up on the wall,
Sure.
the whiteboards.
Yeah, is Mr. Salinas here? Yeah, so correct me or add anything, Salinas. We did have, it is a new system, but we had Mr. Salinas send a technician and have all the teachers verify that there was connectivity and if there were problems to fix them. Now, there was gonna be recurring problems that we're gonna have to map out and fix on a permanent basis. So as far as I know up to this point, mostly are working. There's still minor glitches that have to be addressed. Is that accurate, Ms. Solis?
How many situations like that do we have? Is a handful or? Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We'll go on to transportation.
Yes, sir. Transportation, 0 to 15 days, 98 work orders were submitted, 98% complete. 16 to 30 days, 29 submitted, 96.6% complete. 31 to 60 days, 13 submitted, 92.3% complete. And 61 to 90 days, 4 have been submitted, 75% complete.
Any questions from board members? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next report we have is item 8B, GT presentation by Ida Gomez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, we have a GT presentation update on the program. It's a K-12 program. The following slides, and you do have a copy with you, will show and talk a little bit about the GT fair that fifth graders had. I'm sorry, and that should have been K-5. It's a GT elementary fair. The student counts, the assessments, the instructional programs, the certification process, our GT certified teachers, planning documents, and the fifth grade GT field trip. So it shouldn't say fifth grade fair. That's elementary fair. We're gonna start off with those pictures only because it is one of the latest events that happened at the end of the year. And you'll see here that principals at every campus got very creative It wasn't just about putting together a board. They also had presentations from choir and from art. So they did display quite a few. You'll see here even a robotics picture in the corner. Here you will see a traditional, like almost a science fair project where the students had to report. And then you see some hands-on projects where the students are making games and sharing that with families. So how many GT students do we have in the district? And again, I apologize because I was looking at the counts, and that should not be 781. We have 712 students starting school this year that are GT identified. So in 2022-23, we had 643 students. We had 249 GT referrals, and 53 of the students did qualify. You'll see the breakdown at the bottom. And for this past year, we had 315 GT referrals, 69 students qualified, and again, we have 712 students, not 781. The GT program assesses a child with 4 different components. We have 2 quantitative and 2 qualitative assessments. You'll see we have a Terra Nova that is provided only in English, and it does come from the Region Center. They do supply our testing materials. The second quantitative is the Nagliera. That is a nonverbal assessment. Students do not have to read. It's not in English or Spanish. Again, it's more of a thought process, a logical assessment. The qualitative is a parent observation and a teacher observation. To qualify, a child must get a superior rating in one of the 2 quantitative and one of the 2 qualitative. So 1 and 2, the Terra Nova or the Naglieri, would have to have a superior rating, and the parent input or the teacher input would have to have a superior rating. There could be more of them, but that would be the minimum. Our instructional program, TA mandates that all kindergarten teachers in the state of Texas are GT certified because that's where the identification process begins. 1st and 5th grade teachers, it's a local requirement that a GT student must be placed with a teacher that is GT certified in grades 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. In secondary, in order to qualify for teaching an advanced course, the teacher must be GT certified. The certification process, it's only a one-time 30-hour course. Once you complete 5 courses at 6 hours each and they're identified, you do have to pass the nature and needs, identification and assessment, models of differentiation instruction, creativity and critical thinking, and adding depth and complexity. Once you complete those 30 hours, you are GT certified in the state of Texas for life. Every year after that, you just have to do a 6-hour refresher, and that can be just on a multitude of different topics. So the foundational course, all of our teachers have completed it to be GT certified, and then the 6-hour refresher. We currently have 364 teachers who are GT certified, 192 elementary, 81 middle school, and 91 at high school. This summer, we did have 24 new teachers who earned their GT certification prior to school starting, but we also had 33 current teachers who have been with the district who also participated in the week-long training to become GT certified so that they can have GT students in their classrooms or teach the advanced courses. Did want to point out some of the planning documents. All the planning documents will have some form of assessment on there. This one, for instance, is a 2nd grade ELAR. And at the bottom, you'll see added support or additional support. Next to one, we have a 5th grade ELAR. And on that planning document, it actually does show gifted and talented. For instance, there's a 4th grade science. Those activities for our GT classrooms can fall under acceleration. You'll see different links that the teacher can assign to the students. There's another sample of 3rd grade ELAR. That one does show gifted and talented as the title. Another event that happened at the end of the year was our 5th grade GT field trip. So every year for many years, except possibly COVID, our students have participated in some kind of event. This year it was a little different. The Mo Ranch that was traditional for many, many years has been changing and evolving now with new robotics and STEM. So this past year, you'll see the itinerary there, and you will see that the students traveled from here to San Antonio. They had their dinner at the Incredible Pizza and received a game card. They arrived at the it's like a museum, but it's Doseum. At that place, they had stations and exhibit halls. They had snacks that were provided because they'd already had dinner. And that's where they actually spent the night. You'll see the sleeping bags in one of the pictures. And the next morning, woke up to breakfast. On Saturday, the students went to Breckenridge Park and they traveled, and the zoo, and they traveled on the train. They also participated at Sea Life Aquarium in San Antonio. They also went to Legoland Discovery Center in San Antonio, and there was an educational workshop merry-go-round event for them. There's our bus with our 5th grade students and teachers. And here you'll actually see them at the Learn, Explore, and Create venue, along with some of the different activities the students did do inside. There you see some more students on the machines. And then, of course, as I mentioned, they did all get to spend the night on the floor, including the teachers. Go teachers. And that, in a nutshell, is our GT program. I can entertain any questions that you might have.
Board members, any questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next item we have is item 9 on the agenda, consent agenda. There are some minutes of some meetings, July 24th, August 7th. Again, board members, one action will approve all items on the consent agenda. If there's any item that needs to be pulled out, or if you have any questions, now is the time to do that. Is there anyone that wishes to pull an item out or have a question on any item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion made by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Madam Secretary, would you read out the donations to acknowledge?
Yes, sir. There is one donation from the Rotary Club of $300 to Ruben Chavira Elementary.
That was short.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item we have is item 13, Business and Finance. Item 13A. A is consideration to approve a resolution designating the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate. the voter approval tax rate, and other truth in taxation requirements for the district. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. On your seats at your credenza is a pack. The next 4 items are all mine, and they have to do with tax calculations and the tax rate. Most of this information was provided in your board update, but just for a quick reference, I have them labeled for you for each item. In accordance with CCG Legal and Section 26.04 of the Texas Property Tax Code, the Board of Trustees must designate the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and other truth in taxation requirements. At this time, I do have the resolution, and I will read that. It is hereby resolved, ordered, and directed by the Board of Trustees of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District, the approval of the district's chief financial officer as the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and other truth in taxation requirements for the district pursuant to Section 26.04 of the Texas Property Tax Code as amended. Be it resolved that provisions of this resolution shall be effective as of the date of adoption and shall remain in effect until modified by action of the Board of Trustees. Passed, approved, and adopted this 21st day of August 2023.
Any questions from board members? Just want to remind the new board members, this is totally new. The way it's, the wording and everything else is totally new. Before, we used to have chief appraiser here, and the wording was a little bit different. Are there any questions from board members? Hearing none, would you read the question? Becky Chavez. Dr. Rios.
The state changed it to where the district designates somebody, and that in our district's gonna be Amy. Why the state decided to make that change?
Just as an employee of the district is responsible.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready for the recommendation.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution designated the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and other truth in taxation requirements for the district.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Galindo. Is there a second to the motion? Ms. Gonzalez, seconded motion. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item we have is consideration item 13B. Let's see. Yes, 13B, consideration to approve appraisal roll and tax collection certification by tax assessor collector. Amy Childress.
Good evening once again. The chief appraiser of the Val Verde County Appraisal District has certified and submitted the appraisal roll as approved by the Appraisal Review Board for calendar year beginning January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023, and has delivered to Elodia Garcia, the tax assessor collector for the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District, a statement of the total amount of appraised, assessed, and taxable value as of January 1st, 2023. The chief appraiser also provided a supplemental roll that reflects changes contingent on voter approval of Proposition 4 at the constitutional amendment election on November 7th, 2023. This proposition would, among other things, increase the state mandated homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. Attached is the certification from Ms. Elodia Garcia, the Assessor Collector of Taxes of Val Verde County, of the anticipated collection rate and the total estimated amount collectible. And she does, I did provide the statement with her signature.
Questions from board members? Hearing none. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the district's certified and supplemental appraisal rolls for tax year 2023 and anticipated collection rate and the total estimated amount collectible as presented by Elodia Garcia.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb. Is there a second to the motion? Mr. Orfeld, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item we have is item 13C, consideration to approve the no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for the tax year 2023. Amy Childress.
Good evening once again. Section 26.04 of the Property Tax Code requires that an officer or employee designated by the governing board must calculate the no new revenue tax rate and the voter approval tax rate for the taxing unit. There is a correction. I did provide these to you over the weekend in a board update, but upon review, I did find an error, so that has been recalculated, and you do have the calculations. At this time, we are calculating our no new revenue tax rate to be 0.8266840 per 100 taxable value, and our voter approval tax rate to be 0.938600 per $100 of taxable value.
Any questions from board members? Hearing none. The recommendation.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for tax year 2023 as calculated.
For the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Becky Chavez. Is there a second to the motion? Mr. Galindo, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 13D, consideration to adopt the 2023-2024 ordinance setting the M&O tax rate and the INS tax rate. Amy Childress.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening once again. On June 8th, 2023, a public notice was published in the Uvalde Leader News to discuss the school district's budget and tax rate. The public hearing was held on June 19th, 2023. At this time, I have attached in your packet the ordinance to set the tax rates. And if I may, I will read that. It will discuss both our M&O and INS tax rates.
Any questions from board members? Hearing none.
I'm going to read the
Recommendation.
ordinance first and then the
Yes.
recommendation, okay?
Ordinance.
August 21st, 2023. On this date, we, the Board of Trustees of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District, hereby levy or set the tax rate on $100 valuation for the district for the tax year 2023-2024 at a total tax rate of 93.86 cents to be assessed and collected by the duly specified assessor and collector as follows: 75.0900 cents for the purpose of maintenance and operation, 18.7700 cents for the purpose of payment of principal and interest on debts. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 93.8600 cents, which is effectively a 13.52% increase in the tax rate. This year's levy to fund maintenance and operations expenditures does not exceed last year's maintenance and operations tax levy. Such taxes are to be assessed and collected by the tax officials designated by the district. And certification thereof is to be signed by the president and secretary.
You've heard the resolutions. Are there any questions before the recommendation? Hearing no questions, would you read the recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the 2023-2024 ordinance setting the M&O tax rate and the INS tax rate.
You've heard the recommendation. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item we have is 14A, Human Resources. A, consideration to approve the conversion of 2 excess teacher positions to 2 speech pathologists / assistants. Aide Garcia.
Yes, good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Our special education director, as well as our speech language pathology coordinator, have identified an increase in speech services. So tonight, we would like to recommend to convert 2 teaching positions that we have identified through working closely with the principals. And these are vacancies that we're trying to convert into this speech language pathologist. Now, we're saying pathologist or assistant because if we don't have pathologists ready to be hired, then we would hire assistants, but it'll only be 2. Any questions?
Any questions from board members? Questions? Recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of 2 excess teacher positions to 2 speech pathologists or assistants as presented.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 14B, consideration to approve the interlocal agreement between San Felipe Adoro CISD and Valverde Regional Medical Center to approve the purchase order for over $25,000 in the amount of $78,777.60. Funding source, general funds. Aide Garcia.
Mr. Messer, members of the board, we will ask that this item be tabled. We were not able to receive the MOU as we had expected. We'll hopefully bring this back in September.
Okay. Sir, on this item, would it be possible to research, as I attend conferences throughout the region and the state, for some reason, Eagle Pass doesn't pay this agreement with their regional hospital. And I know that this is for airlift. I've asked board members from Eagle Pass, the school district doesn't pay for that item. Would you research that? Their response is the county pays, we don't pay. So, would you research that for us?
Absolutely, sir. We'll research.
Okay. Okay, the time is 6:49 p.m. We're going to close session pursuant to 551.074 and 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We are in closed session. If any discussion or any item will be voted upon, we will be reconvening into open session and voting upon that item as we reconvene. We're now in closed session. Okay, the time is 7:43 p.m. We are reconvening into open session. No action was taken in executive. And for the record, Becky Chavez left during the executive session. She will not be here for the rest of the meeting. First item we have under open session after reconvening is, again, no action was taken in executive session, is 18A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Aide Garcia.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. It is the recommendation of administration to recommend Alejandra Flores, science teacher for Del Rio Middle School, 8th grade, and also the resignations and vacancies as presented.
You've heard the recommendations. Are there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18B, consideration to approve the submission of TEA applications for teacher certification waivers. Aida Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Alejandra Flores and to submit the TA application for teacher certification waivers as discussed in closed session.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18C, consideration to approve the submission of TA applications for principal certification waivers. Aida Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the submission of TA application for principal certification and waiver for Sarah De Luna.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18D, consideration to approve the position of coordinator instructional technology for the curriculum and instruction department. Aida Garcia.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Audrey Ariola, Audrey Ariola for the curriculum coordinator instruction technology.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18E, consideration to approve the position of 21st Century Grant Program Site Coordinator for Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. Aida Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Sally Ann Barrera Rodriguez at the 21st Program Site Coordinator for Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18F, consideration to approve the position of Assistant Principal for San Felipe Memorial Middle School. Aida Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Sarah De Luna as the Assistant Principal for San Felipe Memorial Middle School.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item G will be tabled. And there being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much and good night, everyone.